A lady said to me that I met once in New York. She was vice president of this company. She made big money. I don't think she finished her high school education. She was still young, with a young family. And I said to her, how did you get here? This is a tough business. You make big money. You didn't graduate from high school. What happened? And she said, well, let me tell you part of the story. She said, years ago, one day I asked my husband for $10. And he said, what for? She said, by the end of that day, I had promised myself that I would never, ever ask for money again. And she said, yes, I am vice president. Yes, I do make big money. Yes, I am young. Yes, I did not graduate from high school. But she said, I promise you, Mr. Rohn, from that day until this, I have never asked for money again. She said, I started searching for opportunity, found it, started taking some classes, learned the skills, totally changed my life. I'm sure she would say that was one of the days that turned her life around.
There is a day, seemingly like any other, when everything changes. It's the day when you make the decisions, once and for all, to walk a new road toward the goals that until that fateful day have only been misty dreams. It's the day you say, I've had it with living a life of poor health, an empty bank account, and broken promises, where you're suddenly filled with the resolve to do whatever it takes to finally live the life you have always known you are capable of living. It's the day when you're filled with the awareness that time is precious and that each day that passes by unnoticed is like releasing a helium balloon into the sky. Soon it will be a distant memory, never to be seen again. It's the day you decide to seize those precious moments and make every one of them count. It's the day that turns your life around.
You've got to do this. I was going to give a presentation, and this voice inside of me saying, you can't do this. You don't have everything it takes. I shut up. I'm behind on my bills, and you're telling me what I can't do. I have got to do it. You'll get scared sometimes. Your mind will go blank on you. Some people you will allow to unnerve you, and you wonder, what's wrong with me? I'm not crazy. That's why you've got to learn to make a conscious, deliberate, determined effort to stand up inside yourself, working on yourself, watching that inner dialogue. It will determine the quality of your life. I don't believe this. I know this. I've had a challenge of losing weight. I'm walking through the airport, this voice say, why don't you have some M&M peanuts? No! Well, just one. Then after you eat that, you might as well have a Snicker now, you sucker. I mean, it's challenging. My mother fixed the kind of sweet potato pie you can't eat with your shoes on. Have to take your shoes off so you can wiggle your toes. It sticks on my fingers. It says, eat it. One little bite won't hurt. That voice, constantly. Little demons from Colonel Sanders driving my car in there. I had to say, no. No, no, no. I'll diet tomorrow. I saw a skinny man get hit by a truck.
You see, the reason people quit, they don't take pride in what they do. The harder you work, the harder it is to surrender. And I'm not just talking about business. I'm talking about winning simultaneously in every aspect of life. I'm not concerned with a person that does well in one aspect of their life and they can hang their hat there and say, man, I made a lot of money. You made a lot of money. You're a public success, but you're a private failure. What good is it to make a lot of money and you don't want to go home to your family? What good is it to make a lot of money and you don't take care of your kids? What good is it? You're a public success, but you're a private failure. And so how can we win simultaneously and take pride in everything that we do? And one night, my mother couldn't pick me up, and she called Coach Trey. She said, Coach, I can't make it tonight. Can you please take Inky home? And so he put me and about 8 guys in the back of his pickup truck, and he said, Inky, I'm going to drop you off last. And so when he got to my house, I got out on the sidewalk, and I'm standing in front of 125 Rohn Street, and I looked back at Coach Trey. And I said, why are you doing this? Because where I came from, people didn't just help you. It was, I pat you on your back, you gotta pat me on my back. You remember I did that for you, you gotta do this for me. And I said, why are you doing this? And he looked back at me and he said, son, I want to tell you something. And he said, I don't want you to ever forget it. He said, son, the more you make sure that somebody else's life is okay, God will always make sure that your life is okay. And immediately I got it. The light bulb went off. I stopped being this little selfish kid. I stopped being like my 4-year-old son. And for the first time in my life, I stopped thinking everything was just about Inky Johnson, and I realized my existence on this earth is a lot bigger than me. I realized me, my lineage, and my family, when I step outside of my door in the morning, what I represent is a lot bigger than me. And so the thing I had to understand, every day I woke up and everything that I was a part of, I first had to understand I was representing a lot more than myself. I first had to start living by 2 words, honor and legacy. And what I mean by honor and legacy, you honor the ones that paved the way for you. And you leave a legacy for the ones that's coming behind you. We just have it right now while we're a part of something right now. Somebody has came before us and paved the way, and somebody will come after us. And so while we have it, how can we do it in such a way that we leave a legacy for the ones that's coming behind us, and we honor the ones that paved the way for us? And so everything I did, I took a certain level of pride in it. People thought I just wanted to be a great football player. What they didn't understand about Inky Johnson was this: I could have washed cars. I guarantee you I would have been the best car washer there was in the world. Because the thing I understood, I wasn't just representing myself. It wasn't just about me. Everything that I did, I shifted my mindset from me to we. Now I was operating with a spirit of collective character, meaning it didn't matter what I did individually.
Every day, week, month, or year is a gift given to us by God. And that gift is given to us to fulfill an assignment. That means that you were sent to earth to complete a task and to fulfill a specific purpose, but you were sent to do it by God within a certain amount of time. So you don't have forever to fulfill your assignment. This is important. You were sent to earth to do something, and you were given a certain amount of time to do it in. So you don't have the luxury of experimenting. And this is the Bible calls a burden. As a matter of fact, the passing of time, and I wrote this from my spirit, the passing of time makes you accountable to God. So the next time you tell somebody Happy New Year, pause and ask, what did I do with it? What did I do with the year that just passed? How much of it did I wasted watching television? Being with people who had no interest in success? Being involved in habits that didn't improve my life or my body? What did I spend that year on? We are accountable to God. Why? He gave us a gift. And so when we think of time, I want to read a verse from the book of Job, chapter 14 rather, verse 5. Now, this is a verse you must remember all your life. It says, man's days are determined. That means you don't decide how long you live. Your life is on a timer. The next verse statement says, you have decreed the number of his months and have set limits he cannot exceed.
In fact, the scripture says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not to your own understanding. If you only lean to your understanding, you're going to get frustrated because sometimes there is no logical solution. There's no way out in the natural, but we serve a supernatural God. He can make things happen that we couldn't make happen. When Victoria and I had been married about 2 years, we lived in an apartment complex. One evening we were out walking through this nice neighborhood with big trees and beautiful 2-story homes. We came to this one house that was under construction. It was just about finished. It was late in the day. No one was working, so we went to look at it. The front door was unlocked, so we walked in. It was so beautiful. I'll never forget the tall ceilings, the big curved windows. It was all so spacious and well done. As we were walking out the front sidewalk, Victoria stopped, turned around, and said, Joel, one day we're going to live in a house just like this. That was so far out of my thinking, so unbelievable, I couldn't even fathom it. And I started telling her all the reasons why it wasn't going to happen. I said, Victoria, that's impossible. This is how much we make. I work for a ministry. Even if we say for years we wouldn't have enough. I went on and on. That no more affected her. She said, no, Joel, I know down in my spirit it's going to happen. The more she believed, the more aggravated that made me. I did my best to convince her to be a doubter. Come on, we're limited. We'll never have enough. We're at a disadvantage. Her attitude was, no thanks. I know who I am. I am blessed. I am favored. I am anointed. I'm a child of the Most High. I wonder how many times we're doing like I did. I can't get well. Have you seen the medical report? I'll never break this addiction. I've had it since high school. My business will never succeed. I don't have the resources, the connections. All this time, you're focused on the how, thinking about what you can't do, what you don't have. God is saying, let me take care of the how. You just focus on the who. You believe that you're my child. Believe that you have an advantage. Believe that I'm a good father. Believe that I will take care of you, heal you, restore you, favor you, prosper you. We would walk that path several times a week. Every time Victoria would say, there's that house. We're going to live in something like that one day. After hearing that over and over, she started to convince me. You've heard that saying, if you can't beat them, join them. She wasn't going to sink down to where I was, so I decided to rise up to where she was. Don't let people speaking doubt, defeat, negativity cause you to give up on your dreams. Instead of letting them talk you out of it, you need to keep saying it so much that you talk them into it.
I've always known this, but somebody told me something one time about forgiveness. Forgiveness is not for the other person. Forgiveness is you. See, your unwillingness to forgive another person is like you sipping the poison, waiting on them to die. You can't sip the poison of unforgiveness and expect them to die. Forgiveness is for you.
Forgive and grow. I had to let that luggage go. You see, your mind is you know, when you go into a service station to get gas, you don't go in there and just start pumping. When you push the lever up, it clears the previous bill. By the same token, if you want to begin to move, you've got to clear your mind of all the unnecessary luggage and baggage that's weighing us down. I couldn't move, I couldn't think about what am I going to do to get out of this situation, because I was so concerned about what happened and what he did to me and how bad it was. I was so stuck in that I couldn't even focus on what I should have done. Feeling sorry for myself and angry, and none of that was taking me anywhere. So pretty soon I learned through effort, made a conscious, deliberate, determined effort. I had to let it go. I had to forgive it. Let it go and begin to focus on developing myself. And I say to you, you're going to have people to do things to you. Things are going to happen to you. And the most important thing to do is to harness your will and let it go and move so you can grow, so you can get on with your life. It doesn't matter about what happens to you. What matters is, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do now, Les? Huh? How long are you going to tell everybody? How long are you going to repeat the same thing over and over and over and over and over again? How many times do we have to hear that? Don't go around telling people what your story is. Everybody has a story. 80% don't care and 20% glad it's you.
You do not have enough strength to manage yesterday's pain. This is why you have arthritis and hypertension and diabetes and sickness and affliction. You're aging before your time. This is why you got to take a pill to get to bed, a pill to get up in the morning. You're waking up tired at 30 years old. You are carrying too much. You're loaded down with your mama's problems, your sister's problems, your kids' problems, your friends' problems, problems at church, problems at home, problems on your job. You're carrying all of that, and you go over and over and over and over. God said, let it go. You are younger than you think you are. You are younger than you think you are. What is it that has convinced you that you're old? You're carrying too much. You got too much weight on you. You got all kinds of cumulative effect of weight all through your life, all the way back into your childhood. You're 40 years old, still upset about who didn't raise you, who wasn't there for you, what your mama said about you. She always liked your sister better than you. And you sit up there 50 years old grieving over something that happened when you were 8. That's why you feel old. That's why your relationships are failing, because you have never divorced yourself. You have never divorced. You are not single. And you're carrying with you the pains from the first relationship over into the second one, over into the third one. Jim, don't do that. That's exactly what Fred used to do. You're going to bed with 5 people every night. Everybody who ever been with you, everybody who ever left you, everybody who ever betrayed you, they still in the bed with you every night. No wonder. How could you sleep? Put them people out of your bed. Put them out of your head. Touch 3 people and say, let it go, let it go. If you let all those people go and what they said and what they did, you'd be younger, you'd be happier, you'd be freer, you'd be loose, you'd be creative, you'd be responsive. It can only happen. Let it go.
A person who can forgive nothing is a person who's totally destroyed psychologically and emotionally. So how do you deal with forgiveness? Number one, forgive your parents. You do not become an adult until you have forgiven your parents 100% for every mistake they ever made. Remember, it's never too late to have a happy childhood, so just go back and forgive your parents. If they're no longer with you, forgive them and let them go. So the second thing, forgive any relationship that you ever had that didn't work out. Now this is hard because it's so personal and it's so painful. But if you can forgive your parents, it's a real good warm-up. Most people are still mad at their parents in their 50s. If you then forgive every previous relationship, you accept that you were at least partially responsible for getting into the relationship. You were definitely responsible for staying in the relationship. You just say, I am responsible, I am responsible, I am responsible. I bless them and let them go. And just let it go. Because in letting them go, you set yourself free. By not letting them go, you're keeping yourself in prison, in an emotional prison. The third thing that you can do is forgive everybody else. Forgive everyone else in your life that has ever hurt you in any way. Every past childhood slight, every sibling, every person in your family, every person you ever worked for, every lousy boss or person who cheated you, lied to you, robbed you, and everything else, and so on. I mean, just let it go. Just let it go. Remember, it's a selfish act. You're doing it for yourself. And finally, number 4, this is really critical, forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. Now, I have it on good authority. I've done some research on you before you came here, and I find that every single person here has done some wicked, senseless, brainless, foolish, cruel, idiotic, stupid things in their life. Is that true? Say yes. Okay. Let it go. And please understand this. The person who did those things no longer lives, no longer exists. The person you were in the past is a different person than you are today. The person you are today wouldn't do those things because you now have wisdom, you have hindsight, you have intelligence, you understand consequences. So the person you are today is a different person from the person you were back then. So don't keep beating yourself up because that other person, another person, did something that today you disapprove of. All right? Just let yourself go. Let yourself off the hook. And when you let it all go, it's almost like a huge burden off your back. You just forgive everybody and you forgive everything, and on a go-forward basis, you just forgive everybody. You don't have any negativities at all. No negativity toward anybody. You're just a positive person. And if you'll do that, if you accept responsibility, like yourself, and forgive everyone else, you become a truly superior person. Most amazing darn thing.
You can never be free of bitterness as long as you continue to think unforgiving thoughts. How can you be happy in this moment if you continue to choose to think angry and resentful thoughts? Thoughts of bitterness cannot create joy. No matter how justified you feel you are, no matter what they did, if you insist on holding on to the past, then you will never be free. Forgiveness of yourself and of others will release you from the prison of the past.
Universal quest. Happiness is a joy that most often comes as a result of positive activity. Like wealth, it too has a wide variety of meanings and interpretations. Happiness is both the joy of discovery and the joy of knowing. It is a result of an awareness of the full range of life, the color, the sound, the harmony. And it is the joy that comes from designing a life and practicing the fine art of living well. Happiness is being able to explore the offerings of life by perception, response, and enjoyment. Happiness is both receiving and sharing, reaping and bestowing. It is being able to feast on harmony as well as food, on ideas as well as breath. Happiness is the deliberate act to create a wider world of experience and awareness. Happiness is having a handle on disappointment. It is being in control of both emotion and circumstance. Happiness is freedom from the negative children of fear, such as worry, low self-esteem, envy, greed, anger, resentment, and so on. Happiness is an awareness and a grasp of the positive power of life and loving values. It is an order of thought, activity, and lifestyle. Happiness is values in balance. It is contact with people of substance. Happiness is contentment with the tasks of your life. It is thought inspired by, organized with, and rooted in your personal philosophy. Happiness is a life well lived, in which a wide variety of experiences are deliberately captured to become an invaluable form of currency for you to spend and invest in your own better future.
You sell your dream. And what you do when you do that is you sold your children's future. You've sold your own future. You've sold your legacy. You've relented and you've given in. I want you to think about that. Because when you go, nah, it wasn't for me. No. That's the easy way out. Nah, I decided I'm not going to pay that big a price for my grandkids' future. I've decided I don't want to really retire my parents. I've decided I don't really want to be somebody. I've decided I don't want to accumulate enough money to fund that church. I've decided all this stuff I say about who I want to be and what I want and all that other stuff, I kind of want it, contingent on it's not too hard. And that's what most entrepreneurs do. In fact, in a year, of the 500 people here, there will be several hundred of you who have already sold your family down the river. And I say that to you so that you can begin to negotiate the price in advance. I love you. I want you to win. I want to see you prosper. I want to see magic happen for you. And if you don't, while you're at this meeting, all the notes, all the logistics, make a decision that no matter how big the price gets, as long as it's legal, ethical, and moral, I'm going to pay say it. I've negotiated advance. My will to win, my family's dreams, my future is not for sale. And guess what? We're going to enter a market, especially in the real estate space, the next 5 years. We're going to weed out all the people who haven't made that decision. We're going to weed them all out. And those of us that stay, and by the way, I've made the vast majority of my wealth in real estate, by the way. When you get any wealthy speaker that comes speak to you, they either made their money in tech or real estate, eventually. Now, I cash flowed in the financial services business, but I invested in real estate. But I made a decision a long time ago. My children, their dreams are not for sale. You can't beat this dude. I'm not the smartest, right? I'm not the brightest. I may not have all the best information, but I'm going to outwork you, and you would have to kill me to get me to stop chasing my dream. Have you made that decision? By the way, I'm looking at some of your faces. Have you made that decision?
I was reading a book on forgiveness, and they had a line in there that says, forgive and grow. I had to let that luggage go. You see, your mind is, you know, when you go into a service station to get gas, you don't go in there and just start pumping. When you push the lever up, it clears the previous bill. By the same token, if you want to begin to move, you've got to clear your mind of all the unnecessary luggage and baggage that's weighing us down. I couldn't move. I couldn't think about what am I going to do to get out of this situation, because I was so concerned about what happened and what he did to me and how bad it was. I was so stuck in that I couldn't even focus on what I should have done. Feeling sorry for myself and angry, and none of that was taking me anywhere. So pretty soon, I learned through effort, made a conscious, deliberate, determined effort. I had to let it go. I had to forgive it. Let it go and begin to focus on developing myself. And I say to you, you're going to have people to do things to you. Things are going to happen to you. And the most important thing to do is to harness your will and let it go and move so you can grow, so you can get on with your life. It doesn't matter about what happens to you. What matters is, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do now, Les? How long are you going to tell everybody at the bus stop and anybody who would stand and listen to you? How long are you going to repeat the same thing over and over and over and over and over again? How many times do we have to hear that? Don't go around telling people what your story is. Everybody has a story. 80% don't care and 20% glad it's you. They say, I'm glad that didn't happen to me. Sometimes you think you got some problem. You hear somebody else's problem, and if their problem is real bad, it make you feel good. Am I right? All right. So I had to let that go. All of us got stories to tell.
So we have to be good at not only controlling the internal world, but our external world. And that's shaped by what we do. And what people do is based on their emotions and also their role models. So I thank you, Mark, and I thank all of you that are role models for people, where you show people that success does not mean taking, that success can mean truly growing and giving. That money, resources, and opportunity are things to be shared. They're things that are tools for a quality of life that you're able to enhance for people and for yourself and your family. Pretty beautiful thing. My father that day decided what to do was, if I failed and I've been worthless to my family, I must leave. And he did. And to me, it was the worst day of my life. I'll never forget it. I loved him more than anything. I had 4 fathers. He's the one I finally got attached to. It's like, Mom, I'm confused. But then finally, years later, I got the benefit of it, because out of all those experiences and all that pain, that day I made 3 different decisions. First decision is I just decided to focus on something different than him. And that's the power we have. We get to decide what to focus on. And my decision number 1 is I want to focus on the fact there's food. What a concept. Pretty cool. But the most powerful thing to change my life was meaning. I said, what does this mean? Because my father had always said, my mother had always said, nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares. Don't care about anybody, they don't care about you. And that day I had physical evidence. Those you bringing food, I want you to know that's not just food. That's called love for someone. That's called hope for someone. That's called surprise for someone. And that day for me, I went, strangers care. And so I started caring about strangers. And I decided someday I'm going to do the same. So when I was 17, I fed 2 families. It was like one of the most incredible experiences of my life. I went to the grocery store. I was all excited. Saved up all my money, went to the manager and said, I want to feed 2 families. This is what I'm doing. It's not for me. Give me a discount. And he gave me 10%. And I thought, cheap bastard. But I went out and I delivered this food, and ironically, I called this church and I asked in the barrio, a particular place, where are some families in need? They gave me 2 names. I put on t-shirt and jeans. I wasn't going to be acknowledged. I also didn't want somebody to be insulted, because I saw what happened to my father. And I wrote a note. It said, this is a note from a friend. And I said, I just want you to know, we know you're having difficult times. Everyone does at times. And I want you to have a beautiful Thanksgiving, and please feel loved, take care of your family. And someday, if you can, do well enough to do this for one other family and pass it on. But love a friend. And I had it written in Spanish as well. And I'll never forget, First place I pull up, this rotten old van, stick shift van that I borrowed from a buddy of mine, with all these bags of food. And I went into this place and got out, pulled up this little tiny building, really tiny, knocked on the door. And when I knocked on the door, this little woman opened the door. It's probably half my size. She's not hard, I'm 6'7", so she's like 5'2". And she looked up at me like this, and she saw the groceries, and she screamed. She started grabbing my head and pulling it down and kissing me. I was like, no, 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 delivery boy, delivery boy. And she goes, no, God gift, God gift, God gift.
This is too big for me. I cannot do this by myself. I'm going to forgive myself for not being Superman and not being bionic and not having the answer to everything. And I'm going to forgive myself because I can't answer all questions and I can't fix all problems and I can't be there for everybody. I'm tired. I'm going to let myself be a person and I'm going to let somebody see my person. Ooh, that's some scary stuff right there. Let somebody, because if the wrong person see your personhood, you know. So fear stops us from letting anybody come close. And let's face it, most of the people who want to come close and serve in ministry, they come for the wrong reason anyway. Most of them come for the wrong, they don't mean, they're not diabolical. They're not diabolical people, they're good people. But I teach people this, and this might be worth noting. The church is both an organization, organized, structured, apostles, prophets, pastors, teachers, evangelists, deacons. It's an organization. It has to have structure. If it doesn't have structure, it doesn't run right. This meeting is effective because they have structure and order and plans. They don't just come in here and see what the Lord's going to do. Yeah. It's more than anointing. It's planning and structure and strategy, okay? So the church is an organization, but it is also an organism. It is an organism. It is a living thing. It is a divine thing. It has the DNA of God, and it is birthed of its daddy. It's got its daddy's blood in it. It's supernatural. It's divine. It's powerful. And if your church is not both, you'll never be effective. If you have God's DNA, but you have no organizational skills, it will kill your church. If you have lots of organization and structure, and yet you have no divine DNA in you, it will still kill your church. You will be ordered and strategic and organized and be all together and have no life, no zoe, no power, no unction, no semen, none of God's sperm exists in your ministry. It's just all straight and neat. It's like a nursery without a baby. I've seen churches all over the place, organized as they could be, and just they're dead as 4 o'clock in the morning. On the other hand, I've seen churches that were on fire for God, but no structure and no order, and neither one of them can grow, because if you have one without the other, you can never get it done.
I used to do door-to-door sales, and I was working with another friend of mine, and door-to-door sales, I mean, it's punishing. It's cruel and unusual punishment. And I was a little boy knocking on the door. Hello, would you like to buy a nice working television set, no money down? No! Bam! They slammed the door in your face. And the friend of mine that was working with me, they slammed the door in his face, and I looked back, and he was going to the car. He said, I can't do this. And he sat down in the car and he said, you go ahead, I'll be here when you get back. Now, he had a mother and father to take care of him. My mother was ill. I am adopted. I was hungry. I had to go on. I learned something about myself, that when you step into your fears, somebody said, it was Winston Churchill, he said that courage is going from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. When you step into your fears and continue to push yourself to go on, something happens for you. It will enable you to transcend yourself. I went to the next store. You like to buy a nice working television? No! Bam! Went to the next one. No! Bam! After a while, I no longer took it personal. And I began to play a game. I said, well, I know there's a yes out here somewhere, and I'm going to keep on till I find it. And I'm not going home until I do. And I continued to knock on doors. And then somebody eventually would say yes. And I said, are you sure? And I would go in there and I would get the sale. When you have something you want to do, if you don't develop the courage to do that which has been given you to do, and you spend a lot of time going around trying to convince other people or trying to get their approval, what will happen is that you will lose your nerve, and other people will convince you that what you're doing doesn't have any value, and you'll give up on your dream.
One of my friends woke up one day, David, and he said, sitting at the yacht club, having a drink, sitting sort of in a fog. Something spoke to him and said, what could you really have done if you hadn't have been in this condition the last 15, 20 years of your life? You know, he wasn't like an out-and-out alcoholic, but he just, he drank too much. And he started thinking about that. What could I have really accomplished? He wasn't bad enough to where he couldn't function. But he said that day when he thought back of what he really could have done if he hadn't have sort of stumbled around in a bit of a fog all those years, how his life would be. And he said from that day on, he never touched another drink of alcohol. Then he died about 5 years after that. But his wife said to me that last 5 years were the greatest years of our marriage, when that one day he woke up and said, wow, this is not good. What could I have done if I hadn't have been sort of semi-conscious these last 15, 20 years? And that was a very special day for him. Sometimes it's a cataclysmic event. Sometimes it's that moment. Who can really explain it? Only the person it happens to, I guess, can really explain what that inner voice was that says, I'm on the wrong track here. I wonder what I could really do if I kicked this habit or got rid of this obsession. So those are the days that turn your life around.
While life-changing days can be as cataclysmic as never touching another drop of alcohol, or as simple as lying to a Girl Scout, every life-changing day holds something in common. They all involve an internal battle inside our own heads, a battle that must be won.